The next interview is about Singapore. Singapore is a relatively small country with 5 million inhabitants, and in 2010 it ranked third in the Global Competitiveness Index of the World Economic Forum. What is most important here is that Singapore has policies specifically targeting high growth SMEs. This is what we want to talk about with Mr. Gerald Wang. He's Senior Market Analyst at IDC Government Insights in Singapore. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon to you too, Stefan. Hi, everyone. Yep.
So,
Okay.
let's just begin with the first question, a bit more general about Singapore. Could you tell us what are the foundations of Singapore's economic strength, and how important are small and medium-sized enterprises for Singapore's economy?
Sure. I think before I begin, I'll probably give some of the participants an understanding of where Singapore is located geographically.
Yeah.
I get that a lot of times when I go to conferences.
Okay.
So if you look at the map itself, at the the southernmost tip of the Western Peninsula, you will basically see one small little dot of an island just below the Malaysian state itself. And so that's where the island city-state of Singapore is located. And as noted from its own natural geographical location, it has no natural resources. So, but of course, it's a very safe haven where it's surrounded by the Malaysian continent and also the Indonesian islands. So what's so great about this is that this country is that if you zoom out in the map itself, you note that it's at the confluence of the global map itself. So it's a very good natural trade haven. So I would say the port itself is also it's got very natural deep ports. So because of this, you note that in Singapore, the port is one of the 5 most busiest port in the world itself. And so how has this Asian tiger, so it's one of the 4 Asian tiger economies due to its rapid industrialization and developed nation status from the periods 1960s to the 1990s. And how it's basically grown is because of its strength in building the manufacturing and the financial services sectors. And I guess Singapore's foundations of economic strength is very much embedded in its stable macroeconomics policies, its solid social and physical infrastructures, its reasonably clean and competent public services, which has a very strong emphasis on the rule of law. And this has, of course, spurred the state ahead towards very remarkable economic prosperity since its political independence in 1965. And with relevance to how important it is for SMEs in Singapore, how important are SMEs for the Singapore economy? Well, according to statistics from the Economic Development Board, about I think 99% of enterprises located here in this island itself are all micro, small, medium-sized enterprises. And these enterprises employ about a total of 60% of Singapore's workforce, which translates to economic contribution to about 40%. And the very important thing about Singapore's economy is that the government plays a very critical role in providing a very good business-friendly environment. Yeah.
Okay. Next issue then is Singapore has support programs targeting high growth, small and medium-sized enterprises. When did the government introduce these programs and why?
Okay, back to as what I mentioned earlier, Singapore's economic success is very much built on the strength of its manufacturing and financial services sectors. Of course, in the early at the turn of the century, the government did realize that it needs to diversify the country's trade towards other high growth sectors so as to bring about new avenues of trade and growth itself. So the government has launched a whole array of initiatives towards developing high growth enterprise clusters. And I guess in the creation of these clusters, you would have the correlating government agencies that support this whole business ecosystem itself. Leading that would be, I guess, the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Economic Development Board. And also you have a new agency, recent one that was being set up. It's called the IE Singapore. It's part of a subset of the Ministry of Trade and Industry that promotes internationalization of high growth SMEs. And yeah, that's just a few of the activities, I would say, in terms of how Singapore provides certain support programs towards targeting high growth SMEs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then in your case study, you describe two programs in particular. These are named Spring and A-Star. I hope I pronounce it correctly. And if you
Correct.
could tell us some more details about these specific programs, what they do, what they target.
Sure. So for Spring Singapore itself, which stands for the Standards Productivity and Innovation Board, this was actually an agency that was formed in 1996, and it was renamed Spring Singapore in April 2002. So Spring Singapore's primary objective is to be an enterprise development agency that is focused on supporting the growth of local Singapore enterprises. And I guess in the fiscal year last fiscal year 2009 to 2010, Spring Singapore had an operational budget of about 54.5 million Sing dollars, which is approximately 27 million euros. And this is just the operational budget for that year alone. You have to understand that there are some projects that are basically multi-year projects that are ongoing. So it's more than just this amount itself. So it makes it a considerably powerful organization that helps grow SMEs. And the kinds of programs, Spring Singapore has three focus programs that are targeting high growth SMEs. These are basically the business leadership, the technology innovation, and business capabilities programs. And moving on to the other agency, which is the Agency for Science, Technology, and Research, which is basically A-Star. A-Star is a local agency of very elite intellectuals, where basically all your scientists have been grouped under this organization itself. And through A-Star, there is this program called the Get Up program, which is the Growing Enterprises Through Technology Upgrade. So what A-Star does is basically it helps promising local companies grow in terms of providing them the intellectual capital in terms of seconding, for example, scientists or engineers to these companies to help them with R&D efforts. And A-Star's budget for 2009 and 2010 was, I think, about 39.51 million, which is approximately 20 million euros. And yeah, so for A-Star, there are 4 focus programs. The first is the technology for enterprise capability upgrading. Next is the operational and technology road mapping initiative. They also have technical advisory supports, and also A-Star has this research facility which high growth SMEs can tap upon to basically create R&D related activities.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.